Good morning, everybody. My name is Stephen Othany, and this is Othany's Radio, where this week I'm going to be going over my thoughts regarding who should be paid for AI-generated work. So this video comes straight from the brain of my mom, because we were talking about AI, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but I think we got on the topic of my previous AI video, which if you haven't seen, you can click on the little eye icon up there if you're on YouTube, or you can just go through my past episodes if you're anywhere else listening to this podcast episode. But basically, she asked me, she wanted to know if I could figure out what happens if you take AI work, artificially generated work, and pass it on as your own. Is that considered plagiarism? Like, what are the rules behind that? And I did look it up, and what I found was, I learned about this in an AI class like a year ago, and this is still the case. AI generated work cannot be copyrighted. That means if somebody generates work with a bot, whether it's a picture, a poem, a story, whatever, if somebody generates that with a bot, not only can the person who generated it use it for money, anyone can use it for money, which is fair, because since a bot isn't a human, the bot doesn't have human rights. Fair. I agree with that. That should be the case. However, today, my job is to give my opinion on it. Those are the facts, right? Those are the laws. My job today is to give you my thoughts, because that's what you're here for, right? You're here to listen to somebody else's opinion and either argue with it or form your own opinion because of it. Now, in all seriousness, I do want to have a discussion about this, so feel free to talk about it in the comments. I'll try to reply to some if you have a differing opinion, but I'm just really excited to talk about this. So let's get into it. I pulled up a Microsoft whiteboard for this. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you will have some visuals. But if you're just listening to this on Apple Podcast or Spotify, then it should still make sense. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to make a character. This is Bob. Bob is a high school graduate. I don't know how to make a graduation cap, so we're just going to go with that. And he is now going to school for creative writing. All right. Now, there are some more characters in this little story that I'm making, because Bob, just like anybody else, has two parents. His dad, we have his dad, Robert, so Bob is like a junior. And then we have his mom, Roberta, right? Those are his parents. And his parents, from the time he was 4 to now having graduated high school, taught him everything he knew about the English language. If not for Bob's parents, he would not know how to speak, how to read, how to write, because they taught him everything he knows about basic English understanding. And now he's going to take everything he learned from high school and everything he learned from his parents, and he's going to go to college. Now, at college, since he's studying creative writing, he has to take a poetry class. He's taking a poetry class, and the poetry teacher, right, we got the poetry teacher over here. Poetry teacher, his name is poetry teacher. Now, for this class, the poetry teacher gives Bob a prompt. The prompt is, write a poem about what you would spend your money on if you suddenly got $1 million. Right, I'm going to sit up, get in the camera a little bit better. And so Bob takes this prompt seriously. He writes a good poem, titled poem. It's got probably like 12 lines, whatever, right? It's a good-ass poem. So good that he decides he wants to publish it. Publish it in a local poetry collection called Poetry or whatever. He wants to publish it in the poetry collection and make money off of said poem. And now this poem gets super popular. It gets a lot of money, and the collection, like the publishing agency or whoever the group is that published this poem, offers the big bucks because that one poem in the book made the book popular or whatever. Regardless, that poem is making money. Now, my question for everybody watching, everybody listening, is who should get that money? In my eyes, there are three possible options. Option A, over here, we have Bob's parents, right? Oh, I can zoom out. What? Oh my God, I'm going to zoom out. Awesome. Okay, I didn't even know I could do that. So we have Bob's parents. Bob's parents is option A. Because like I said, Bob's parents taught Bob everything he knows about the English language. So if Bob is using what he knows about the English language to make this poem, publish this poem, make money off of this poem, then Bob's parents should get the money for teaching Bob how to do what he does. That's a fair point. That's a fair option. And if you say A, good for you. That's option A. Option B, we have Bob's teacher, the teach, right? The professor, the one who gave Bob the poetry prompt in the first place. The teacher said, for this class, I want you to write a poem about what would you do if you got $1 million. Right now, if you just got $1 million, what would you spend it on? What would you do with it? And I want you to write a poem about that. And that was the prompt that the teacher gave him. And since the teacher came up with the prompt idea, gave it to Bob, you might even argue that Bob would never have written said poem if not for the professor. So that would be a solid argument for why the professor should get all the money for this poem. We're going off of if one party had to get all the money. Which one should it be? Should it be A, Bob's parents, B, Bob's teacher, or C, boldly enough, Bob? Sure, Bob's parents taught him everything he knows about poetry. Sure, Bob's teacher gave him the prompt for the poem, but at the end of the day, Bob was the one who sat down, put pen to paper, and wrote the poem. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are your options for who should get the money that this poem makes. Bob's parents, Bob's teacher, or Bob himself. Now, lock your answer into your head. Put it in your pocket. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And we're now going to talk about a different story. So this right here that I'm drawing right here is hold on. This is a robot, right? We're going to call him Poem Bot. This bot is made by a corporation called AI Corp. They make tons of bots that do tons of things, including a poem bot named Poem Bot that writes poems. Now, this poem bot is available to the public, so anybody, including you, I'm going to add you to this story, can put a prompt into the poem bot, have it write a poem, and then you have the poem. So, say this poem gets out there, gets sold, and it makes a lot of money. Of these three parties, the AI Corp, the Poem Bot, and you, who should get the money? Is it AI Corp, the ones who made the bot? Is it you, the one who prompted the bot to make the poem? Or, funnily enough, the money could go to the bot, right? Now, most cases these days, when people generate AI content, they take the content for themselves, and that's it. So in most cases, you get the money. Sure, the corporation who made the bot can claim that they should get the money, but I don't really see that happening too often. I also haven't really researched it, so I could be lying out of my ass, but that's another option. Now, what do I mean when I say the bot could get the money? Well, if the bot gets the money, then all of the money that the poem makes would go to keeping the bot stable, upkeep, cleaning, fueling. I don't know what it takes to keep a bot like this running, but I'm sure it costs money. So, if the money goes to the bot, then every cent made by the poem goes straight into keeping the bot working, keeping the bot alive. Because that's what you do with your employees, right? If you hire somebody and you're paying the employees, you're paying them to keep themselves alive, to do more work for you, to make you more money. However, in this case, if the bot gets the money and all of the money that the bot makes goes towards keeping it running, if humans aren't profiting off of it, then what's the point in keeping the bot around? So that money has to go to people, right? That money has to go to you. That money has to go to the AI corporation. So they have more of a willingness to keep this bot alive if they're making money off of this. Sure. Okay. And now if you said that if an AI bot generates a poem and whoever puts the prompt into the box should get the money, that being you in this case, then you should also say that if Bob, we're going back to Bob here, if Bob makes a poem for his class that he eventually sells, then you're saying all of the money that that poem makes should go to Bob's teacher and nobody else. Nobody else. Nobody else should get this money except Bob's teacher. Because Bob's teacher gave Bob the prompt to make the poem, just like you would give an AI bot a prompt to make their poem, its poem. If you say the AI corporation should get the money, then you should also say that Bob's parents should get all the money from his work. Since Bob's parents taught him everything he knows, trained him in the art of the English language, then whenever Bob uses the English language for himself to create whatever he feels like, Bob's parents should be getting the money because it is their teachings that made that poem possible, and so they should get all the money for the poem. However, if you follow human copyright laws, neither Bob's parents or Bob's teacher would get a cent from that poem, and all of the money would just go to Bob, which is how it should be. See, ladies and gentlemen, my argument today is that every single cent that AI-generated work makes should go directly in keeping whatever artificial intelligence was used alive. That means no human should be getting paid any money for work that is otherwise copyrightable if made by a human that an AI bot makes, which means if us living creatures aren't here to make money off of these artificial, works, what's the point in keeping them around? So, friends, if there's anybody of power out there who can make it so human beings cannot make money off of AI-generated work, I would love to see a world where that's the case, because in a world where that becomes true, AI bots stop working, AI bots stop creating, and the people who put actual work into making music, books, poetry, pictures, paintings, any form of art, any form of creativity, anything, even if it's not a form of art, just anything, doing anything. I don't remember how I started that sentence. Basically, people who actually put work into things would then be able to actually make money. The people who actually need it to survive. Because, friends, not every single one of us human beings have a rich and powerful corporation to take care of us and give us upkeep. So we have to do it ourselves. And we can't do it with AI taking over. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been my TED Talk regarding AI and copyright and who gets the money. I hope I've swayed your opinions, but if not, or if so, honestly, I'm down for whatever discussion you have in the comments, so feel free to leave a comment if you agree, if you disagree, if you don't really care. Whatever your opinion may be, please leave it in the comments, and I will happily read it, and I might respond to it. I can't promise I'll respond to everything. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
I don't wanna go back, I don't wanna find you. If I saw you with anyone, I don't know what I'd do. If you told me you were just friends, I don't think I could tell.